I feel like it's like we climb the mountain, we get to the top, and we're finally like, oh, we made it through like the wreckage and the climb, and we were bloody and the blood, broken bones and all the things. And then you think that's where you're going to be for like the rest of your life. And then it's like, just kidding.
It's less about trying to figure out who you are. It's less about who am I and having this identity, right? Because we're always changing, like we just said.
Yeah.
So it's less about finding myself, and it's more about finding freedom to just be who I am in this moment.
Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm Moira Cassava, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. Welcome back to the High Vibe Life podcast with me, your host, Moira Cassava, and I have an Instagram friend in the house today. Marisa Hope is here. Welcome to the show, Marisa. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, lovely. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to dive in.
I can't wait to dive in either. I mean, your face just popped up on the screen a few minutes ago, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, you have been a figure in my social media feed for years and years. And, you know, I'm not somebody that really follows a lot of people on social media. I'm not stalking people's stories. I kind of like get on, create my content, and get off. But for some reason, as the universe would have it, you have always just kind of come back around into my feed, which is such a beautiful thing because I have seen a lot of this journey unfold that we're going to talk about today. And it has been so vulnerable, so real, so beautiful. And before we even jump in, I just want to applaud you and honor you and hold space for you because, girl, like, to do that, I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed. We're like 60 seconds in.
Me too. Like, oh
my gosh. Because it's such a similar path. To do that is extraordinary. But to do it forward-facing publicly, it's another level. So I'm going to hand you the mic for a little bit so I can wipe my tears already.
Now that I'm tearing up.
Can you tell us, like, bring us back? Where did this story begin? Where did this journey begin? What does it all look like? I would love to hear it in real time from you today.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you for that introduction because I wasn't expecting to be tearing up and within 6 seconds here, but I so appreciate you and just, I really receive your words and I appreciate you witnessing me. And that's one area of my journey that I'm really stepping into right now is just allowing myself to be witnessed and seen. So thank you.
Yes.
And so if I'm really to take it back to the beginning, I mean, oh my gosh, it's a wild ride. But really, I think where it all started for me was in my bodybuilding years. Yeah. So I was doing bodybuilding shows, photo shoots. I was really immersed in the fitness industry. That was my entire identity. And it was how small I could get, how little I could eat, how much cardio I could do. Like, that was my entire life for probably 6 or so years. And
how old were you? Like, how did you get into that in the beginning and what age did that start?
Yeah. So I always like to bring it back to in high school. I wanted to make it onto my high school volleyball team and I didn't.
Oof,
and so for me, but that was also like one of those catalyst things where that led me to joining up at my neighborhood gym. So I joined the gym earlier than anyone in my school. Basically, I was like, I think 15 or 16. Yeah. Just started like, throwing the little weights around and like, I just fell in love with it. And one of my influences was my mom actually, because she had done bodybuilding shows when she was younger.
Wow.
So I was kind of just like, I knew about it, didn't really know too much about it. And at this gym, I was starting to get approached by trainers of like, you should start competing and you should, like, you could be so good at this and all these things. So it was 18, 19 that I did my first show, and I started prepping for my first show. So that's kind of when I was, thrown into that world. And again, I think at such a young age too, that just became so ingrained into me then of this is my worth and this is what I'm good at and this is my thing, right? Because I wasn't in sports growing up.
And when you get so much attention, right? Like I think about that with, I was in all the sports, excelling in all the things. And it's like, you can't not fall victim as a teenage girl or teenage boy even. It's almost inevitable that that's going to become your identity, no matter what's even going on at home or your childhood. Like I didn't have all these like childhood wounds. It was just like, this feels really good. Give me more, give me more, give me more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And without the awareness of, who I truly am or what actually brings me joy, like you said, it was that external validation where I was like, okay, this is going to be my thing. This is what I'm good at. People are praising me for it. And then I was also getting sponsorships and working with supplement companies. So that just all fueled the fire, right?
Yeah.
And then, within that journey, also I was going through things of, I was obviously struggling with then my body image and was terrified of eating enough food. I think at one point I was like so afraid to even eat 1,000 calories. That was like a really hard period for me. And I was also in a relationship at the time, a long-term relationship where I also got him into bodybuilding. So that then became our entire life.
Wow.
Shows and photo shoots, and it wasn't even anymore that we were hanging out with each other. We would literally go to watch the sunset to go take photos.
Right.
So it was everything.
Everything. Oh gosh, I can relate to this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I don't think that there was one specific moment that kind of woke me up, but I think it was just cascading events that were breaking me down. And I started to realize, okay, I never feel good enough. I'm waking up super anxious. I hate myself, basically. No matter how lean I got, I always hated how I looked in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I started to just kind of be like, this isn't right. This is not how it should be. And actually, the more photo shoots and expos and bodybuilding shows I would just go attend and meet people and talk with these girls who were also doing it, I was starting to realize that we all have these same issues. We're all binging. We're all going into the grocery store and getting as much processed junk food as we can because we're so deprived.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
It was just starting to blow my mind, like hearing other people's stories. And it really just dawned on me, there's something wrong with this.
And so much of this, gosh, I can relate. I mean, I think being trapped in the world of like obsessing about your body and then trapped in the addiction of binge eating, like there are very few more torturous hells to live like consciously, It's so, I mean, the obsession that takes over your physical body and mind is so incredibly intense. And for me, that was post drug and alcohol addiction. And it was harder than that. Right. And so here's my question for you. Do you think, because I know I went down the rabbit hole of like a 1,000, eating disorder specialists, and everyone wanted to know like where the abuse was in my childhood. And I was like, I had a pretty normal childhood. Like, I felt like I'm never going to fix this thing because I don't have this problem. To me, what really happened, I believe now on the other side of it, is, when you undereat, your body, your physiology compensates for that with binge eating. And it's something that you literally can't control. But it is as simple as dieting and diet culture and undereating set that up. And I think there's millions of people, especially women, that are caught on the spectrum of that somewhere, right? Like I was actually just talking to a client of mine today and she's like, every night at 9:00. And I'm like, every night at 9:00 because you're under eating, And so how much of this do you think was triggered by like underlying deep-seated stuff, or you almost fell into creating it because you had no idea the trap you were falling into? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, yeah, I like what you said about the spectrum, because I think that's definitely true of, I think it really depends on, for example, in my case, because I had been depriving myself for 6 years,
Yeah.
okay, of course, like you said, physiologically, my body is so deprived,
Mhm.
duh, all I can think about is food.
Yeah.
So there's absolutely that aspect of it where it does come down to a physical, just your body needs nourishment.
Hmm.
And that is an element that I think so many of us need to understand and heal and make peace with, is like, I'm not giving my body enough. So to start doing that will help those tendencies, of course.
Yeah.
And then I think in terms of the deeper rooted, like if we want to call them wounds or triggers or whatever, in my case, similarly, I had a great childhood. Like there was no wounds really that were maybe causing those behaviors. But I do think for a lot of us, there is a level of disconnect
Hmm.
to ourselves that we're maybe like running away from
Yeah.
sitting with ourselves and going within. And, a lot of the work that I do now with clients is that more deeper internal, like really sitting with ourselves and looking at what's there. And so many of us were turning to food or scrolling or things like that. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of pieces.
Yes.
But it also gets to be simple, or it doesn't have to be complicated or scary too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was there a moment, was there an event, was there a turning point? Like, can you look back and see kind of like where the turn in the road was for you?
Yeah, I think for me, my biggest wake up call was when I went through a breakup with that long-term relationship. It was so clear to me that I was just not getting what I needed and deserved out of that relationship anymore. It was really toxic at the end. And that was so probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, to walk away from that. It was a 6-year relationship. And that's really what actually helped me understand even more about the emotional body, and how if we suppress our emotions, for example, that's going to lead to physical injuries and all these manifestations. Because that's exactly what happened to me after this breakup. I moved out, I lost a dog, I lost a business, I lost my house, all these things. And then afterwards too, I got into a car accident, just all these things. The universe was like, girl, we're waking you up. Like, now's the time. Let's go. Right.
I'm sure you believe like I do, right? It's like a whisper and you're like not listening. And then
And
it's
then
like
it has
louder.
to scream.
Yeah. And then it turns into a car accident, a breakup, and all the things. Yes. And you're like, yeah.
But at the time, actually, I wasn't tuned into any of that. I didn't know about the universe. I didn't know about spirituality. Like I was not in that world yet, not even in that realm. And so when all those things started to compile, I had this intense, terrible pain in my right lower stomach. Could barely get out of bed. All of a sudden, could barely get out of bed, could barely go for walks. And that was really what led me down my body image healing journey. Because, obviously I couldn't work out. I couldn't move in the same way. I could no longer control that part of my body, and controlling my body started to become my coping mechanism for this breakup.
Yeah.
And once again, that was the universe screaming at me like, girl, we got to do something here. Like, this is not the path for you.
Yes.
This path is done. So,
wow.
Yeah. So that, my body was changing and I was gaining weight, and it was probably, aside from that breakup, the scariest thing I went through, because I was like, my entire identity is burning to the ground. And I'm like, who am I? What am I doing? And that's really where I turned all of that pain into my message. Like, I just started to share about my body image healing journey and all these things I was going through. And
how did you know that you needed to heal that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, versus just saying like, I'm trying to be comfortable with this were you kind of at that point, were you working with anybody, or were you starting to explore these different practices or philosophies to kind of open up your eyes to that? Like, when did kind of the help come from the outside versus just that intuition maybe?
Yeah. When I think back on my journey, a lot of it was just I was praying a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of it really did come from just, I had no other choice.
Yeah.
Because it was so in my face. Like my entire lesson in that period of my life was, you believe your whole life is based on what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have to heal this.
Right.
There was no other way. And like it wasn't an easy journey or even a fun journey or a short journey. It was like an entire year or more probably of just sitting with myself because I couldn't do anything else. And that's when I really believe, you know, the universe gives us those moments of the turbulence or the pain or the freaking breakdown to shake you awake, because I couldn't go to the gym and distract myself.
Right.
And I couldn't even go for long walks. And, you know, I had to just sit with myself.
Wow. And were you like, are you journaling? You're praying. Are you journaling and just trying to like uncover kind of what's underneath there?
Yeah, I think, it was a lot of, for sure, journaling. I started to dabble in meditation, but I still wasn't even fully, I was like, what am I even doing? I was still chaos in my mind. But I think the biggest thing that I allowed myself to do was actually just cry. Mm-hmm. Like, can I swear?
Yes, absolutely.
Cry a fuck ton. Like, cry, purge, release. I was angry. And that's when those emotions were starting to come up that I had suppressed for so long that I really believe were, you know, what had created that pain. And there was something within me that I had to connect to, and that was that catalyst for me.
And through that, like that, especially that first, say, 6 months, were you sharing immediately on social? Like, was that part of that immediate like healing, or was it like kind of behind the curtain going through this and then having to kind of find that you know, confidence to go out there and share?
Yeah, I think I just honestly started sharing for whatever reason. Something possessed me where I was just like, I'm going to share, and I'm not going to second guess it, and I'm not going to worry about who sees it. It was just a total unveiling almost for me of.
So beautiful.
Yeah. And I think what was really like, not that I wanted to see it, but I think it helped me also in my own healing, was just seeing how many women needed to do that. Because, you know, that was around the time when I first started sharing these things. This was 4-ish years ago, when, you know, body image, body positivity, these more diverse things that we see a lot of now, that was not really there.
Right.
back
Right.
then.
Yeah, absolutely. How did that shift with your influence and your audience? And because, I mean, I think about it, I'm like, I don't know how you and I connected so many years ago. Like, and I almost wish I could go back. Like, did we connect on social media because we were both so, in the fitness and health world? But then I started to see this beautiful transition. Did your influence and your community and everything, like, how did that change with that transition?
Well, it grew a lot, and it grew really fast. And I think that's just another testament of when you are being your authentic self. That's when you attract your people. That's when I was just radiating out this frequency of, hey, I'm healing this. Come join me. And it was just so clear that so many women needed that. So it was really beautiful to see my community go from, you know, probably always seeing me post about my body and being in the gym and all these things that at one time I was passionate about, and that's okay. Like,
that was your truth then. Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah, that version of me is part of this story, right? And so then when things shifted, I think actually so many people had even messaged me and said, I actually unfollowed you a while ago because you triggered me and I didn't want to see your body all the time and all these things. And I'm like, wow, thank you for sharing that. And for refinding me now in this chapter, because, you know, I know that this chapter is a more healing one that people need to see.
Yeah.
You know?
I love how the universe works. Like, I can see this whole journey from the outside looking in, hearing it kind of, you know, boxed, like put in the box for the first time for me. And I can't help but think, like, would you have been able to go to the depth that you went to, or would you have been able to keep soldiering on without that support? Because I know that like when there aren't voices in your corner affirming the path, there are days where you just can't keep going alone, you know? And I'm like, oh, I just love that this community like sprung up around you, because don't you think like that's what kept you so convicted on the path?
Yeah, I really believe that was like, I had angels around me at that time. Cause also, just everything I was going through, the breakup, the grieving, the body image stuff, the pain, the physical pain that I was in, like, I'm so grateful for the community that I built. And I actually love that you brought that up, because I'm in now a similar period, completely different versions of the story, but similar period where there's this new truth of mine that I'm starting to shed light on more. And that's exactly the piece of it where, you know, our ego wants to have the validation, and we want to see, oh, that post went viral and this reached a lot of people. But it's the study of how can I stay true to myself and my message, even without the praise.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I'm in right now. I'm in this little portal. Like, are you going to keep going on the path you know you're meant to go? And
okay, so I need your phone number. We need to text each other every day. Because I feel like I'm in the same thing. I'm like, for the last couple of years, I'm like, I know exactly what I could post. And a lot of it would be body health related, right? Like I could post it right when we get off this recording and, you know, get thousands of likes on something. And I refuse to do it. Yet I haven't fully stepped into like the new calling, the new pivot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so it's even harder to be in the middle. It's like, I should either just go back right to the messy middle. Goodness gracious. Yep. But it really is. It's tough. Gosh. So let me ask you this for people that are listening. How many years ago was this pivot in your life?
You mean when I was healing my body image and that side of it? That would have been around 4 years ago.
Okay. And you actually ended up going to, was it Mexico, and living there for a year?
Yeah. I moved to Mexico for 2 years. That was another part of my healing journey.
That sounds amazing.
So, that was, you know, another, I like to think of my journey. There's like segments, you know, like the different layers. And moving to Mexico, you know, I had this whole life there. I was in a relationship. I had an apartment. I had this whole life where I was just working on the beach. And similarly, that was exactly at the time what I wanted. I literally created that for myself. Yep. And then one day, I mean, it wasn't just one day, but over time, there was this moment where my soul went, okay, this isn't aligned anymore. And I was like, what did you just say? How dare you?
Right.
No, we're ignoring that, right? So it's just one of those things, again, where we are multidimensional beings and we're constantly evolving and waking up and changing. And I think for me, that's been my biggest realization is you get to change your mind as many times as you need, because it's always going to lead you to where you're going to go. And then, now I'm in this whole different, entirely beautiful and chaotic and messy middle, but amazing chapter.
Yeah.
And it's just
I know. I feel like it's like we climb the mountain, we get to the top, and we're finally like, oh, we made it through like the wreckage and the climb, and we were bloody and the blood, broken bones and all the things. And then you think that's where you're going to be for like the rest of your life. And then it's like, just kidding. And it's so interesting. You said it's like it's within us. So it is us changing our own minds, but it doesn't feel like us because our ego is like, we survived, we conquered, we arrived at this new beautiful place. We're good here. But that inner knowing is like, sorry, sister, you got another mountain to climb and another place to go. And you really, on those new journeys, like, have to not do it all over again, not do the same thing, but you have to relearn. You have to be a student. You have to figure things out. And man, your ego doesn't like that, you know? And so gosh, I have so many questions. Well, can I ask you this? What's the new direction? What's the new journey?
Yeah, girl. Yeah, I mean, right now, I think what has really been on my heart is that so much of my healing has really come from my spiritual practices and deepening a spiritual connection. And that's been something that I've been, on the back end fully thriving in.
Yes.
And then when I go to share, it's this block of fear of judgment and, the spiritual closet that they say. And I'm like, damn, that thing's real because and so, it's been a lot of that where, I have so many things that I want to share. And it could just be the simplest thing of, oh yeah, today on my lunch break, I went and touched a tree and that was me connecting back to the earth and deepening this connection to myself and, stuff like that. And obviously there's many other deep concepts that I love to go into as well. But I think at the end of the day, it's just expressing from a place of authenticity and exactly what's on my heart in this moment. And something actually that a creator that I really love mentioned that stuck with me is that I think it's less about trying to figure out who you are. It's less about who am I and having this identity, right? Because we're always changing, like we just said.
Yeah.
So it's less about finding myself and it's more about finding freedom to just be who I am in this moment.
Gosh.
And when I heard that,
yes,
it's like, okay, that is it.
Because all I've been doing is trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And really, when you say freedom, it's about stopping a lot of other stuff, right? It's about creating space and not feeling like we have to do all these other things, which is kind of crowding out that authentic journey. Or overcomplicating it, right? And thinking as creators and people that have been on social media and have big followings, I don't know about you, but it's like I see the authentic path and then I instantly get caught up in my head with like how that should be packaged in a social media, blah, blah, you know what I mean? And I'm like you said, like, what about hitting record and going to talk about the tree you just touched? Like, that moment gets pushed aside because we overcomplicate it with what's the hook? What's the caption? What's the, you know what I mean? I'm like,
literally. And that's actually something that I've been realizing too is, as a creator, this might relate or resonate for people who are listening that create, or even if you just create art, there's so many times when I'm having a moment with myself and, there's a message coming through or I'm channeling something and I'm just in it. And instead of consuming it for myself first and sitting with it and receiving it, immediately my brain says, okay, how can I turn this into a video?
Right.
What's the hook for this? Right. Like all of it.
Yes.
All of it. So in that same breath, what I'm learning, this is my own personal study right now, is that, again, when it comes to creating art, let's say we're creating art at the end of the day. We're creating from our heart. I have decided it is not about how people perceive my art or who sees it or who likes it. It's about me just simply creating it.
Right.
And when I go to make a video, then it's also less about, I have to make it right now because it's on my mind, or I need to post it by noon because that's when all my followers are on. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, and this goes for anything. This isn't just for content either. This is every single thing in our life. When we're rushing and we're forcing and we are then becoming our own block.
Yes.
To our abundance and to what's meant for us. Like we really have to operate from an energy of trust and patience and
flow and ease.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad I'm not alone.
No, you were not.
Oh my gosh. I hear that so loud and clear. And it reminds me, and this is silly because my kids are, they're like in high school now. But I remember when I had babies, somebody saying to me, like, the only time I get frustrated as a mom, I realize that I'm pushing, like they're on my timetable. Like something's not, like they're not doing what I want them to do right now. So you're trying to control the situation. And I remember the reality of that hitting, like that is 100% true, right? Like if you're on a toddler's timeline and let them go where they want to go and do what they want to do, no one's ever throwing a temper tantrum. It's when we start to manipulate and get in there. And that's what we're talking about with, creating whatever art we're creating. I feel like, gosh, I want to go back if you don't mind, because I feel like there's probably so many people that listen to this podcast that are like desperate. They're like, you just glossed over like how to heal yourself, right? From this horrible, horrible world that you and I both lived in. And you might not be that far down on the spectrum. But what is your advice if you were to say, hey, start here or do these 3 things? Like, how does somebody start healing from that hard place of hating their body or even just being overconsumed with thoughts about food and all of that? What do you suggest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many things, right?
Yeah.
Like we could talk simple things and then we could talk the more deeply rooted things. But I think the number one thing that I always like to open people's minds up to and just getting curious about is starting to maybe pinpoint when or how these narratives started. Because I think that's really helpful to actually just recognize, okay, these aren't even my thoughts or my feelings or whatever. It could be that we grew up in homes where our mom was always dieting or our mom was always making comments about her body. It could be from the media, which for most of us, it is a huge media influence. Right. Even, there's a lot of videos I share on my Instagram of movies and TV shows, just all these scenes, and you watch them now and you think, what? It's just
right.
mind-blowing.
And you think, no wonder we ended up the way we did. Like,
exactly.
How could you not end up with disordered, thoughts and body and all the things? Yeah.
Right. So recognizing that it is everywhere. And the reason why I find, and with my clients working through body image, have seen this to be helpful is because, again, it's helping you see those are not mine. Mm-hmm. That was never mine to begin with. That was something programmed into me. It's an external noise, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it just helps to bring a little bit of awareness around, where it started, how it came in. And then from there, we can start to rewrite the narrative of, okay, if someone in my childhood maybe bullied me for my weight, let's say, now I get to reclaim my power and rewrite that storyline for myself. So I can start to meditate on it, journal about it, recite it in the mirror, whatever feels aligned for you, of just what's going to be my new story. Okay, my body is the least interesting thing about me. That was my mantra for so many years of my body does not matter. The people who love me do not care what I look like.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. And one thing to hear is that while the words matter, it's also about feeling the words. Mm-hmm. So just like in the beginning, when I mentioned I'm practicing receiving. So when you were, saying those really beautiful things to me, receiving that and trusting it and believing it, because it's in the feeling that things shift and heal. So that's always a really huge one.
I love that. I love that so much. I mean, I get every part of that too, because when you've walked this journey of healing, you just, yes. Like you said, it's complicated, but it's simple. It's like, but you can't get to the other side of this without doing exactly what you were just sharing. It's like you're rewriting the story. And for me, a huge part, like one of the big steps, I feel like, you take like 1,000 baby steps and then you take something that's like feels like a giant step forward. To me, that was that disassociation from like, oh, that's not me, like you just said. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I just remember the first day I kind of learned that oh my gosh, the thoughts in my head aren't me. Like the thoughts, this programming isn't me. Like it just allowed me to like step back into my power so much. And I would revert and fall back into, thinking it was me. And I don't know if this is even making sense to some people, but like that's a giant part, is like separating yourself from really how you've just been programmed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things to also share as well, it's kind of that waking up moment of the diet industry and just society in general. It is so carefully curated to position us in that way. And it's designed to keep us insecure and distracted and so consumed on these things, because then how would we ever have energy or space or capacity for things that actually matter, like changing our lives and changing the lives of others and sharing our truth. Imagine if every single woman who has ever struggled with body image stayed small and stayed quiet and never shared anything, because that is the whole point. That's what they want. Right. So like you said, it's that reclamation of power, really. And reminding myself of that always is the biggest middle finger to diet culture.
Yes.
And I just say, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to be controlled by that. I'm not going to be powerless to that anymore. And I mean, I know for me, I don't know if I'm sure you had this in your own mind, was like the amount of hours and days and months and literally years where my mind was focused on that versus creating an impact in the world, changing people's lives, building a business, raising babies up to be amazing humans. Like, you've got to understand how, and it's hard because usually when you're trapped in that, you feel so small and so insignificant and you hate yourself. But like, you have such capacity within you to change the freaking world if you could replace the time you're spending thinking about food and your body with anything else. Yeah. And so just getting people around you to remind you of that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many layers to it as well, is just like you said, knowing that we hold so much potential within ourselves, and we are the entire universe. Like every single one of us is so divine and important and worthy. And yeah, I think too, for anyone listening, just remembering that to be patient on your journey, because it's possible to heal and then some.
Yeah.
And the woman you become on the other side of that is everything. And the way, like I was mentioning too, the way I've started to view the things that have happened in my life, or even as I come up against new challenges or new insecurities or new triggers, whatever it is, I now ask myself, okay, what is this teaching me?
Yes.
It's less about being a victim and feeling sorry for myself. Like, yeah, I have my moments. I have my down days and I have my, little rabbit hole moments. But for the most part, I thank the universe for showing me something new that is going to help me expand, because that's really all it is. Anyone who's struggling with body image or addiction or binge eating, lack of self-worth, toxic relationships, whatever it is, it's showing you something about yourself.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love what you said about and then some, because I think when you're at rock bottom, you feel like, am I ever going to be able to just crawl out of this hole? And it's like, sister, you're going to crawl out of this hole and be at the top of a fucking mountain, like that's what's going to happen. And you think you're just going to crawl out of the hole. Maybe. And it's like, I the crazy, and I won't go down this rabbit hole because I want to ask you more questions, but like, I got sober when I was 21, and I was sober for 15 years, carrying a lot of shame about being in recovery. And it was like one day I honestly saw, it was like revealed to me that the same thing that made me an alcoholic was the same thing in me that built $1 million business and did this. Like, it's this driven, insatiable, like go part of me. And I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, what I always thought was my greatest curse is literally my greatest blessing. And so, like, I want everybody to hear that, because what you think is your downfall, or what you think is even tragedy, to walk through tragedy, that tragedy is going to become the biggest gift you'll ever receive in some capacity if you let it and if you see it that way. you know?
Yeah. I always love to say your journey is your medicine.
Yes. Yes. And then it's usually your work for the world, right? Like it's your calling to go
Absolutely.
do that for other people. I can remember listening to, oh my gosh, Glennon Melton. You know Glennon Melton, probably Glennon Doyle Melton.
Oh, yeah.
I saw her speak one time many years ago, and somebody in the audience said, "How do you find your purpose?" And she said, "Go where your pain is.
Mm-hmm.
Go where your pain is." And I was like, wow, that's so powerful, you know? And we think it's the opposite. We want to like run from the pain to find our glorious purpose. And it's like, no, it's probably the same thing. And you're living that. I mean, your pain, your greatest pain is your purpose, and it's how you are healing the world, and it's this beautiful ability that you now have within you to help so many people. It's just awesome. It is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell me this, where can people connect with you? Obviously Instagram, but what kind of programs do you have? I know you do a bunch of different coaching kind of containers, and will you talk about that for people?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, today is a very special day because my group program, The Connected Feminine, just opened its doors. So we're celebrating today. And I love that this divine conversation is also happening.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really my baby. Like it's everything that we talked about today. It's my entire journey being created and birthed into a program of really healing and learning and studying all these things around body image healing, finding food freedom, cultivating self-love, finding confidence. We also dabble in the spiritual realm of, how to raise your vibration and energetic work and all of it. It's just such a beautiful container. And
love that.
The women who find it and join in the specific containers, it's always so aligned.
Yeah. So is it a community or like a X amount of weeks program?
Yeah, good question. So it's a 12-week group program. Okay. It's all online. We have weekly calls. So that's the main, I would say, body of work right now that I'm offering. I do one-on-one work as well. And then I have a really beautiful online courses around self-love. I have a body image and food freedom course. So there's a wide array of resources.
I love that. For me personally, like a program like that where you're committing, right? You're accountable. You're a part of a community for a short amount of time versus sometimes when you join like a membership, you're just kind of thrown into a bucket with like what's happening. And not that there's a lot of positives to membership models, but I love the idea of like, I'm doing the work with these people for the next 12 weeks. That's awesome.
Yeah. And in my experience, I've just witnessed how sacred it is. It's like walking through that door with sisterhood.
Yes.
In that it's a closed container as well. So it's like such a deep, transformative, expansive experience, and we're just in it together for 12 weeks, and it makes me cry every single time because it's so beautiful.
Absolutely. I get that. That's so amazing. Do you offer that one time a year or two?
This will be the 4th round. Okay. So I typically offer it 3 to 4 times a year.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That is so awesome and so needed in the world. So needed. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, goodness gracious. I'm going to link everything in the show notes. So the 12-week course and your other courses, I'll link there too. Your, kind of self-paced courses. We'll link your Instagram. Any other, are you mainly on Instagram? Is that where people can mainly find you?
Yeah, Instagram mainly. I also have my own podcast as well.
Awesome.
That I could share too. Just a lot of things we talked about today. And those are the main areas to kind of find me.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, Marisa, thank you from the bottom of our hearts in this community for being here today and sharing your journey and sharing your story, and so much wisdom and just so many good things, so many nuggets that I've taken away today. And I applaud you for sharing your journey and continuing on this path and continuing to heed the call, right? It's not like a one and done for you. I know it's easier to stay in your lane and you keep listening when the universe is asking you to change lanes. So I applaud you in that. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Moira. This was so lovely. I'm like, can we talk for another 3 hours? Like,
Yeah.
we have so many things, but
I know,
this
we
was
can.
beautiful. And yeah, I'm so honored to be here. And you're such a ray of light. And
Thank you.
this was amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Definitely share this episode. Share it on your social media. Tag Marisa, tag me. We'd love to hear from you. So if you want to DM either of us, please do. And we will see you next week.